What's going on, everybody? My name is C4. Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be breaking down and throwing some letter grades. Now the first wave of free agency is over for all of the Philadelphia Eagles signings and outgoings, and how I feel about it. Obviously, the signings are very easy to apply a letter grade. Do I like the player? Do I like the fit? The outgoings is going to be more so, would I have paid the price that other teams paid for the players that are no longer members of the Philadelphia Eagles? The first wave is completed. We still have a lot more moves. Remember, Howie Roseman at the Combine said, be patient. This might look like a little bit different of an offseason for Eagle fans, but be patient. So I trust that this is just the first stage of many stages of how Howie Roseman has kind of mocked and dreamed up the perfect offseason for the Philadelphia Eagles, which in my mind, because of the way that the players we brought in are very bargain bin-ish, maybe there's going to be trades. Maybe there's going to be something along that make a lot of sense for Philadelphia Eagles, and hopefully it's not the sad news of the rumors of maybe Dallas Goedert on his way out of Philadelphia. This is just the first of 3 videos that I plan on releasing post first wave of free agency. I'm also going to do a video breaking down the best remaining free agents I think makes sense for the Philadelphia Eagles from a roster standpoint and from how we're approaching standpoint. So I'm going to honestly look and see the names that are available that kind of meet your AJ Dillon, Josh Uche, Harrison Bryant's, Adoree Jackson types that I think we could still potentially be in for. And then thirdly, I'm going to be doing a video doing a post-first wave of free agency mock draft, because many of my recent Philadelphia Eagles mock drafts have been done around like, oh, I don't know if we're bringing back Zack Baun, so I'm going to draft a linebacker. I don't know if we're bringing back Mekhi Becton, so I'm bringing in a lineman. I don't know if we're bringing back Josh Sweat or a Milton Williams, and it's kind of been like a guessing game. Now we have a little bit more clarity for the Eagles roster. I feel like I'm starting to piece together what I feel a lot more comfortable saying would be a dream Philadelphia Eagles mock draft. Now, we're still waiting for the last piece of business, the last big tree to fall, huge tree, the big ticket himself, Mekhi Becton. I heard word on the street, and I don't know if this was officially like a rumor or it's just someone really smart thinking about it, that Howie Roseman, look at the comp picture. That's what we're starting here. Right now, Philly has a 3rd, 4th, and 6th round pick in 2026. None of our signings have really broken any of the thresholds to lose any of these comp picks. Howie's playing the comp pick game. And it sounds like if Mekhi Becton's going to get a contract, that would there's no way it'd be a 3rd, I don't think. But realistically, if he's going to get paid elsewhere, if Mekhi Becton gets a contract that would get us and net us another 4th round comp pick, we're going to let him walk. But if the contract offers comes in for Mekhi Becton and it ends up going to be in like a 5th round pick, a 6th round pick that Howie Roseman would match, I think that is outstanding roster management. Because if it's just something that's going to be a 5th or 6th round pick, that's going to be really affordable. And I don't necessarily think you have to look at the Kenyon Green, CJ-GJ trade as like Kenyon Green's here, therefore Mekhi Becton, there's no way he's returning. I think you look at Kenyon Green, you look at a player that's been in the league since he's 20. He's, 24 years old right now, which is the same age as some linemen that are in the draft. Now, we don't have a rookie contract full length of Kenyon Green. We have this year and then his 5th-year option, so it's a 2-year deal. I guess you could kind of almost view it like a UDFA contract for a Kenyon Green. I don't think you just assume that he's going to be ready to start and compete. I don't know what the true vibes are with Tyler Steen. So if Mekhi Becton is only going to net the Eagles a 5th or 6th round comp pick, I think Howie Roseman will match that. That makes a lot of sense. I love that that was kind of brought up. But we're going to hear talk about what actually happened. The players that are out, the players that are in. We're going to start with the players that are out first. And the first big one was Milton Williams leaving. Milton Williams to the Patriots, the biggest average contract in Patriots history, $26 million. Now, Milton Williams, freak of nature athlete. Milton Williams came on strong last season as a rotational interior pass rusher in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl. Nonetheless, maybe his best game ever as a Philadelphia Eagle. It was pretty much always going to be a foregone conclusion that he was going to bounce. And for that price point for the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm honestly going to give this one I'm going to give it an A+, because if we paid that amount of money, like that's how I'm going to have to grade these ones that are going out. Would I have let these players walk for this price point? If Milton Williams said, Howie Roseman, you either pay me $26 million or I'm gone and going to the Patriots, A+ for Howie not agreeing to that. It's obvious. This is not an A+ of thank God Milton Williams is not the team. I think that's a terrible contract for the Patriots. That would be a terrible contract for the Philadelphia Eagles. That means I don't even think there would be a scenario where we could pay Jalen Carter. Clearly, almost every move the Philadelphia Eagles are making this offseason feels like in a way to prepare for whatever the ungodly contract. Like Jalen Carter's going to reset the market. And are they going to get to that contract extension next year? It's probably looking likely. And there's some people saying that he might get like the biggest non-quarterback. I don't think it's going to be. Maybe though. I don't think it's going to be, but it could also absolutely be that. So I'm going to give it an A+ for Philadelphia walking away here. And best of luck to Milton Williams, even though I still hit the Patriots from their dynasty years, and I never will look at them differently, even though I'm a big Drake May fan and what they got going on there. And I hope Milton Williams plays well anytime he plays anyone that's not the Philadelphia Eagles. But that was a very smart decision for the Eagles not to bring back Milton Williams. And we get to net a third-round comp pick, which is very valuable. We also have Josh Sweat, 4-year, $76 million deal. I'm not going to go full A on this one. I'm going to grade this one a B, I think, for the Philadelphia Eagles. A little bit more uncertainty at this pass rush than we do at D-tackle, because for Milton Williams, he's gone. But we got Moro Ojomo, who honestly, not even really the same species of athlete that Milton Williams was. Milton Williams is one of the most athletic D-tackles that's ever gone to the combine. But when you look at Ojomo, from a play standpoint, you look at the PFF nerds, they have his pass rush win rate, one of the highest in the league. Like, he has a lot of vibes that Milton Williams is bringing. Milton Williams was percentage-wise and next-gen stat-wise very, very good for the Philadelphia Eagles. Even at the box score stats, even at the tackles, TFLs, and sacks, haven't been there over the last 2 years. Like, the per-snap percentages of Milton Williams as an interior pass rusher were very, very high. And I think Ojomo is like right in line there. And I don't know if we're going to be able to just assume that Ojomo can take that position over right away. I don't think he's going to get 100% of Milton Williams snaps. I think there's going to be a little bit of either we draft somebody, we're going to look at Thomas Booker, showed some flashes last year. But we have cover. When you look at Josh Sweat, that is now a question mark. I think there's more of a question mark of who's going to step up and take over for Josh Sweat than we have on the interior. And that's still not saying that it's doom and gloom. Jalex Hunt is going to step up, but Jalex Hunt was purely a rotational pass rusher last year. To assume that he is going to be like, well, we got Jalex Hunt ready to take over Josh Sweat. That is a gigantic step up in responsibility, in role, and snaps. I think you can absolutely assume that Jalex Hunt will be first man up, but it is going to be a heavy rotation on that other side. Is Bryce Huff going to remain a member of the Philadelphia Eagles? There's another question mark into how we're going to replace Josh Sweat. Who else do we have that can come in and rush the passer? There's a lot of question marks for this rotation. I feel confident that we'll figure it out, but I think there's a little more uncertainty in who's going to step up and take over for Josh Sweat. So I'm going to give that one a B in relation to Milton Williams A, but ultimately for the Philadelphia Eagles, being able to net a 4th-round comp pick, not really paying that price. Again, all these big contracts are going to weigh about what we need to do for future contracts. It was a smart decision to let Josh Sweat walk. We now have Mr. Isaiah Rodgers. This was honestly a surprising one because he was like, I think it's 2-year, 15. So it breaks down to about $7.5 million a year. And a lot of people thought that with Slay on the way out, it would make maybe sense because of the sneaky play to get Isaiah Rodgers when he was suspended from the Colts. Maybe there'd be some good faith there a little bit that maybe take a little less money to return to the Philadelphia Eagles because every time he filled in for Darius Slay, right? Slay was in and out of lineup a lot last season. Missed some games, but like there was games that it was like cold off the bench. Isaiah Rodgers came in. He would always get picked on, and it felt like he got more than he got, if that makes sense. Give up a couple big plays every now and again. Maybe not the most technical corner, but a very athletic corner that could usually compensate for maybe the lack of technique and bring it up the line. He would have enough speed to catch the guy downfield and get a PBU. I'm honestly going to give this one here a C. I think I would have matched this price. I think I would have gone and brought Isaiah Rodgers in to compete with Kelee Ringo. And I think best man wins. And what's the worst case in that scenario? Best case in that scenario, honestly, is the young Kelee Ringo. It's like, oh shit, he's ready to start. We're going to put him on the other side. We're going to have Q and him on the outside with Cooper DeJean in the slot. And then it's like, oh, we got Isaiah Rodgers now being first off the bench, a role that he thrived in. Now, if this is a scenario where he wanted guaranteed starter spot, like I feel like maybe that's probably the vibe because I imagine Philly would have at least offered a contract to Isaiah Rodgers. And Vic's like, hey, it's going to be competition. We're going to see if you can get... Versus you go to Minnesota, who have a really, really shoddy secondary right now for the corners. Like, corner is probably one of their biggest positions going in the draft. So now you get a little stability in Isaiah Rodgers, who I think is an underrated player. There might have been a better path for him to start in Minnesota based on promises, probably from the Philadelphia Eagles. But I think ultimately, I'm giving this one a C. We're going to net a comp pick, so it's not the end of the world. I think I have confidence in Keely Ringo, which factors into this grade, but I do think, end of the day, seeing some of the contracts we have handed out, I think I would rather Isaiah Rodgers at his price point on this team to have that competition, to have that veteran presence in the secondary versus letting him walk for that price point and netting a 6th-round comp pick. We didn't have we have 2 more role players that are gone. Oren Burks has bounced. We are not getting a comp pick in return from the Bengals. It's a low-level contract, similar contract to like the bargain bid deals that we're giving out. I would have brought him back as well. I think this states to the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to throw it a C. It's not a D. It's not a doom and gloom because he's, it's Oren Burks. Using backup, filled in nicely when Nakobe Dean went out. I think I like the chemistry that him and Zack Baun were able to kind of establish during that playoffs. I think I would have valued that a little more. I don't think it's an unmatchable contract that he got from the Bengals. But what this does say to me is Vic Fangio thinks that maybe Axeman Jr., Jeremiah Trotter, can fill into that Nakobe Dean role. Because, is Nakobe Dean even going to play next year? There's still massive uncertainty whether his injury is going to be healed up in time for midseason, for late season. Maybe he comes for a playoff. I don't know. But the only thing that I'm giving this into a positive and not giving it an outright D, because I think Oren Burks, especially his play during the playoffs, that looked like a guy that understood Fangio's scheme, and I would feel comfortable having him start next year, is that this to me says, Vic said, Trotz Jr. is ready to go. He can be our linebacker next year, and or we'll supplement it during the draft. Maybe there's a bunch of linebackers in the draft that Vic has circled and said, I got 6-7 guys here that I think could come in and compete for a starting job, and that's why we let Burks walk. But it's you're playing with fire here a little bit because it's more uncertainty, more kind of the roster strategy this offseason. We got to trust the young guys. I think Burks would have been nice business to retain, but we're not all doom and glooming over that. And then lastly, we have 2 left, both on the Steelers. We lost Slay. This was pretty much a foregone conclusion at the end of the season. He wanted to play one more year. Given the nature of our secondary, we are, appreciate everything Slay did. Appreciate everything he did for our young guys. As Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean are going to have to step up now as the leaders of this secondary. I think it was, what is it, 1 year, $9 million? It's a lot. I don't think from a roster standpoint we're ever going to make this work. I think B. I think we got to show respect to Slay and understand that if there was a way financially we can make it work, we absolutely would like to bring him back for 1 more year. Have him retire Philadelphia Eagle. He's still good enough to start, even though it was surprising last year that he was getting targeted. Quinyon Mitchell on one side, Slay on the other. Teams were going at Slay early and often. And a lot of teams would run towards Slay because he's not a particularly good run defender. But very rare to see Slay be the side of the field that quarterbacks are attacking. And that is just a statement to how freaking good Quinyon Mitchell is. But I think ultimately for the Philadelphia Eagles, it was time. It was time to cut ties with Slay. And, best of luck to you. We have another Steeler. The last outgoing, Kenny G. I'm shocked. Very, very shocked with this one. I thought for sure Howie Roseman was going to let Nick Sirianni keep his favorite player. Nick Sirianni's been very vocal that his favorite player is Kenny Gainwell on the offense. Clearly, he's just gassing up like an underrated guy. But, Kenny G as an RB2 was a real nice RB2. He did not get paid significant money from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Honestly, kind of surprised on this 1-year deal that we did not bring him back. I assume when something like this happens, there's a little bit of Kenny G looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers running back and be like, I think I'm better than Jaylen Warren. I think I could probably lead the Steelers backfield in touches, especially they lost Najee Harris. I'm gonna go C. I think that I can't grade the Eagles too harshly on this because I do believe Kenny G's like, there's no chance I'm playing with Saquon Barkley here. I want to go start. It's time. He's good enough, I think, to be, I wouldn't say an outright starter, but I think he has 3-down running back traits, and I think he has enough upside to be the lead back of a committee backfield, which is what he would be with Jaylen Warren there in Pittsburgh. I'm going to assume that it was him saying, I want to go somewhere else because it's Saquon. All due respect, Saquon. Unless the only way I'm seeing the field enough is if he gets hurt. But for the price point, for it means for the Philadelphia Eagles, Kenny G was a really, really nice RB2. And I think it's a situation where, it just is what it is. I think that this is probably more Kenny G wants more snaps. We couldn't offer it. I don't think it was a financial decision, but it still kind of sucks because he was a really, really nice role player for the Philadelphia Eagles. And there's just another question mark of who the hell on our roster is going to be the third down back. Is it going to be Will Shipley, or is it going to be a running back that we brought in off the bargain bin? Going to said bargain bin, we're going to start with our signings. The big one here, got to throw the old A+ on Zack Baun. It is an extension. It's not so much a free agent signing, but it technically is. We're going to group it in. Everyone's all doom and gloom Philadelphia, only losing players. But at the end of the day, between Zack Baun, Mekhi Becton, Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Isaiah Rodgers, Darius Slay, Kenny G, the number one player that we had to bring back is Zack Baun, and that is exactly what we did. And we got him at a very nice, slightly below market rate. I thought there's a chance, especially with some of the ridiculous contracts that have been handed out this free agency period, that there's absolutely a scenario that Zack Baun could have reset the linebacker market, because you're seeing some garbage depth tackles at best getting like $50 million guaranteed. So the fact that Zack Baun only got 17, that's coming below Roquan, that's coming below Fred Warner, which probably should be, right? He's technically really a one-year wonder. We got to see. But he was one of the best linebackers we've ever seen in a single season for the Philadelphia Eagles. And the fact that he got less money than like Tremaine Edmonds on the Bears is outstanding business by Howie Roseman. A+ in every sense of the word. We then have, bargain bin. We are starting. We got AJ Dillon on a 1 year. Now, we're not really going to talk about the finances because every player remaining is not even hitting the comp picks, and the contracts are stupid. Like, I think I saw something that Josh Uche has like a pretty much a 1 year deal, but they've 4 void years. Purely nonsensical from Howie Roseman. So we're just going to talk about maybe more so and grade the impact of said player. A lot of these guys are going to be replacing outgoing players. So AJ Dillon will likely take the Kenny G role. Surprisingly, he's a power back, 235, but surprisingly was utilized quite a bit for the Green Bay Packers, as a pass catcher out the backfield. So he has soft hands. He can catch the football, which is slightly unconventional for clearly a build of a power back. But, see, he's coming off a back injury. That's always a red flag. Now it's giving you your classic, I've been cleared by every single person, yada, yada, yada. Pretty significant injury. Enough to just put a question mark on, what AJ Dillon we're getting. Now, we're not getting the AJ Dillon that was required to take almost a 50-50 share with Aaron Jones in Green Bay. He had a really big role on that Green Bay Packers offense. It's going to be different here in Philadelphia. Barring Saquon Barkley getting the cover of Madden and all of us having that worry, AJ Dillon is clearly going to be a backup. Very much, I think, competing for Will Shipley for snaps. But at 200 and, we'll be generous, 40 pounds, I think you could, we re-signed Ben Van Sumeren. I'm not going to grade that one. I love that move, though. I really think for AJ Dillon, you put him, lead block him. Have him and Saquon out there at the same time in the pistol. Have him just destroy and eat up the first linebacker. I think he could do that. I think on short yardage, he can come in and do that. Even though Saquon's probably going to want to be out there and get the touchdowns. And let's be honest, short yardage for Philadelphia, that's Jalen Hurts for the most part. People say, he's going to be our short yardage back. That is the tush push. But there is an element of late game. Philadelphia looking for that running back that when we are winning and we want to take Saquon out, who's going to be a punishing back that the opposing tired defenses is not going to want to see. And you can see more than enough highlights of A.J. Dillon just running through people. Now, he doesn't run through people and carry it 70 yards. He's kind of slow, kind of has some Trent Richardson to his game, to be fair, unfair, however you want to determine that. But I think for the Philadelphia Eagles, this is a player that, power back. We always like power backs. My vibes are like Jordan Howard-esque signing, and Jordan Howard was fairly solid. But it's nothing too crazy. Throwing a C there on Mr. Dillon. We then got Josh Uche on a 1 year deal. I'm going to give this one a B. Josh Uche 2 years ago had 11.5 sacks with the New England Patriots. He's always kind of been one of those guys that has a really good pass rush win rate. If you're talking to the PFF nerds, I think somewhat similar to Bryce Huff. This almost feels like a Bryce Huff correction. And if we get rid of Bryce Huff, if you want that kind of trait, underlying stat guy that maybe hasn't had the best pure stats, I think Uche could be that guy. I think Uche is, from the vibes from Patriot fans, he was best when they had Matt Judon on the other side. He's a guy that, if things open up, if you have other players doing the dirty work, Josh Uche, with his finesse pass rush skills, can make plays. What is the Philadelphia Eagles defense? If Josh Uche is out there, it's going to be Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, kind of getting all the attention. He's going to be that extra guy. He's going to be the extra guy that has a role that he has been able to thrive. Very affordable deal. Not taking any hits from the comp pick. So I think that's shrewd business. I like that signing from the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to give that one a B. And I'm very interested to see what his role will be. I mean, he could be part of that rotation with Jalen Hunt to replace Josh Sweat. But the big question mark for the entirety of the pass rush is what the hell is going on with Bryce Huff. We then got Harrison Bryant on a 1-year deal. I'm going to give this one a B as well. I was planning on, earlier in the week, making a top free agency targets type thing. I still have my notes ready. He was in my notes for tight end. Now, he wasn't the top tight end. My top tight end was trading for Michael Mayer on the Vegas Raiders. But in terms of available free agents, Harrison Bryant's interesting, man. Just never really had a role to be a starting tight end. Clearly won't be that here, barring something shocking happening to Dallas Goedert. And even if that did happen, I imagine Philly would either draft a tight end that'd like to be TE1. Calcaterra is probably going to be head of the picking order of Harrison Bryant. But Harrison Bryant is a former Mackey winner. When he was at Florida Atlantic, he was and won the award for the best tight end in college football. But then he went to the Cleveland Browns, where he's clearly behind David Njoku. And then he's like, I'm going to go to the Raiders, where I'm behind Brock Bowers. So the role for him has never been great. But if you're gambling on traits, you're gambling on a guy that was a very productive college tight end that just has been in weird situations, weird vibes for the tight end position on the depth chart for all the teams he's kind of stopped around in the NFL. Now, clearly, if he was really good, he'd have more of a track record, more of an established history in the NFL. But I think if you're throwing flyers and you're trying to just see some interesting names, God damn every day on the trait of a guy that is only not that long, recent memory removed from being the top tight end in college football. We now have two things left we got to talk about. The last signing is Adoree Jackson. This one here, not the best, because this is straight up Isaiah Rodgers. Now, he's cheaper than Isaiah Rodgers, so for that, I'm not going to be too high. I'll just go C. This is one of those ones that you can tell which people are like grading these off of Madden, like based off of my mentions. Like, there's enough people saying like, well, he's still pretty solid. You got star dev in Madden still. He's still like a 76 star dev in Madden. He's kind of been burnt toast. Now, similar vibes to when we got James Bradbury, right? Because James Bradbury was like pretty good elsewhere, really good elsewhere with the Carolina Panthers. Then he went to the Giants, sucked, came to Philadelphia, was good for a second. Adoree Jackson's kind of followed that trajectory. He was solid with the Titans. Then he goes to the Giants, terrible. Are we going to be able to get that bounce back of like, you're out of that black hole of suck that is the New York Giants? Can we get some nice play out of you? Adoree Jackson might also be able to utilize him a little bit on special teams. He was a great return man in college. But the fact of the matter is, I think from a depth chart standpoint, he is taking over from Isaiah Rodgers, and Isaiah Rodgers is a better corner. So for that, I can't give it much higher than a C, but it's a low-risk signing. It's not even taking a comp pick. It's a nice little veteran competition with your Keely Ringos and Eli Ricks for who's going to be getting some field time next year. So it's not that big at the end of the day. But negativity sells here on YouTube. We got to finish with the last move for the Philadelphia Eagles. I can't give this an outright F because it seems very clearly this was a contract reason. This wasn't Howie Roseman doesn't want to deal with the personality of CD. I'm going to have to give this one a D. Still, at the end of the day, we are losing. I don't even care about the picks. I don't even care about the fact that he has 12 picks in 2 years with the Philadelphia Eagles, which is awesome production. You can't, that's a little bit of a casual take. Some of those picks are right place, right time. Some of those picks, he was straight up stealing them from his teammates. I think swear to God, he got like 2 Quinyon Mitchell's picks in the season last year. But, he clearly wanted more money. I think it was very much, he saw Saquon Barkley get rewarded, get a contract extension after his big year. He was like, well, I'm kind of like heart and soul of the defense here. Got the swagger. I changed the identity of this defense. You could see the difference in the 2 years that he was here and the 1 year he wasn't. The vibes were immaculate. 10 times stronger. Different teams entirely when CD was leading the vibes on the defense. That's valuable to the team. That's an intangible on the team. He also has the production. And he's like, well, I'm not getting a new contract. I'm not getting rewarded. Trade me somewhere else. So I can't outright give it an F because I think that's likely what happened. Philadelphia, we're getting another member of the Jeff Stoutland Reclamation Project Club in Kenyon Green, which he could turn it around. So, like, there's some optimism there. We gained a draft pick, go from a 6th to a 5th, which is still going in the right direction. But it sucks. At the end of the day, if you're just looking at it not from thinking about it strategically and logically, think about it just from a player standpoint. We are going to be taking the field next year, and he is not going to be a member. That sucks. So I ultimately have to give it a D. But I'd like to hear what you guys think of all the moves. We got also Charlie Hewlett at long snapper. I think that was actually just a couple hours ago. So it looks like Rick Lovato, one of our longest tenure players, is going to be bouncing. I know he was expensive, so we're probably saving some money there on the salary cap. I don't think we're done. I think this whole Howie Roseman be patient thing is circling back around to a trade at some point, like waiting on a little bit, let the dust settle. Do you think we bring back Mekhi Becton? Do you think we play this comp pick game? I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. We'll also be back with more videos. I told you we're going to be breaking down some of the best remaining free agents in another video. We're going to do a post-free agency mock draft. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. If it's your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, it's your boy C4 saying peace out. Love ya. Have a good one.